So we're back at it, and this time we got fictional teleportation, size manipulation, art manipulation, and bone manipulation. There were a lot of debate about these four over at TikTok and IG, but now I'm asking you, which superpower would you choose? Let's go over the powers and how useful they are in today's world and how much of a threat you would be, and if you need a secondary power to safely use it. Now first off is fictional teleportation, the ability to instantly move yourself from a fictional world and exist within it, but with the rule you can't return to the one you left. Now to the most, they would welcome the chance to visit their favorite world that they grew up reading about or watching, but the issue is, are you willing to easily ditch our world and everything you hold dear within it? If so, then there's no point of asking how useful it would be in our world.
You are checking out anyway, and to be honest, it doesn't help you much in any way, except for a way to escape if things go wrong, which they will.
But what about countermeasures? What's a power that would be a natural counter to it? Well, you actually wouldn't need to worry about counter powers, since anyone that sees you use your ability won't get to see you use it twice.
You automatically flee the scene and the world when you use it, so you're no longer in danger once you pick a location and leave.
So what about other powers that are safely needed to have this?
The power isn't dangerous to use, but can be a mental strain to those who are strongly connected to their life and friends. Leaving that behind and not being able to get back to it can be wrecking to most.
Yeah, to most this won't matter to them, since that's basically you isekaiing yourself without being killed by Truck-kun, which honestly is a fair trade considering how you can learn abilities from one world, take it with you to the next, and eventually stack and become the ultimate OP main character. But I would say mental fortitude would be a great thing to have, since your grip of reality will be constantly slipping, as what you do in each world would have no long-lasting consequence for you once you leave. But what kind of threat could you be?
Outright, you aren't one. Going to other worlds isn't really a weapon you can use against a planet you're on, but only to flee from it. So at the most, you can be annoying before you leave, but if you were to travel to worlds and learn abilities or gain powerful weapons, then eventually you could scale up to cosmic, but you would need to pick the right worlds to go to and try to max out everything you can there, since you can't return afterwards, and then not pick a world where that wouldn't be enough.
Also, you would have to worry about running out of fictional worlds to go to or learn about new ones in the world that you're currently in.
Or stop being lazy and create your own. You could technically create a version of your original world and go back with everything you've learned and become unstoppable.
But next up, we have size manipulation. It grants the ability to alter your physical size up to 84 feet tall.
This ability can be applied to your whole body or individual parts at once.
With many versions of this ability in comics and media, let's pick a method for that makes the ability work. We'll go with a triggered internal reaction on a molecular level that stimulates the growth and shrinkage that can be controlled at will as the base.
Yes, we won't cheat and say it's magic or science with no drawbacks.
So how useful is it in today's world? Well, you could do wonders in disaster relief, medical rescue, pollution cleanup, habitat restoration, construction, and so much more. But a walking giant that clocks into work on a regular will quickly get the government's attention. Especially if you use this to be a menace, whether tiny or large. It's a matter of time before they hunt you down and dissect you, or make you go Winter Soldier.
But what about countermeasures? What's a power that would be a natural counter to it?
I won't bother listing everything, but most powers are a great counter, since the bigger the target, the easier it is to hit. And yes, shrinking does make you harder to hit, but if you do get hit, it can still be game over. Although your form does grow, and some depictions put the strength scaled by their growth or retain their original strength when they shrink.
Galileo's square cube law. This principle, often applied in fictional settings, suggests that as an object is scaled up, its volume increases faster than its surface area. This means that while larger forms are stronger, their strength to body weight ratio decreases. This can make them more vulnerable to impact and stress, and potentially limit their agility and speed.
Which means you better deal with the problem quick before they realize your weakness.
But what are some powers you would need to safely use this one?
Density manipulation. Countering the square cube law, this is perhaps the most crucial complementary power. As the object scales up, its strength to weight ratio decreases due to the law. By manipulating density, the user can adjust their mass independent of their size, allowing them to remain strong and durable even at a gigantic size, or agile and quick when they're shrunken. For instance, this could decrease their density while growing to avoid becoming overly heavy, slow, or increase it when shrinking to maintain their strength and impact.
Enhanced strength and durability, even with density manipulation, being either gigantic or microscopic, can make the user more vulnerable to certain attacks. Superhuman strength and durability would provide an extra layer of defense, making them more resilient at any size.
Proportional strength. Some size manipulators naturally gain strength and durability proportional to their size. This might be an inherent part of their power, but having independent control over these attributes would provide greater flexibility and safety. But what type of threat could you be with this? You can grow big or small even with the boost to your stats, but that's still only putting you at neighborhood to maybe city, and that's you stomping around to get it done. Your top height isn't giving you the ability to wipe a state, and the government will be hunting you down during the process. But next up, we have art manipulation. The ability to turn art into physical embodiment of what was created and have control over it.
Basically, give life to pretty pictures and make them your slaves.
That's a dark way to say it, but yes. Simple on the surface, but this is something that truly demands a creative approach, especially when it comes to your daily life. For normal jobs, you can use this for animation and film, education, therapy, marketing and advertising, and the list goes on. You would also be a hit with kids being able to bring their favorite characters to life in a way technology could never match.
The same creative uses could be applied to be a villain with this ability. You make for the best assassin, using untraceable art to carry out hits that return back to magazines after.
The art isn't indestructible, so most abilities could easily destroy the art.
We can use the system of shadow clones and give them the same durability.
But what power would you need to safely use this? The power itself isn't dangerous to use, and since you have control over the art, you don't have to worry about them turning on you. So anything else would just be buffs.
So we should add enhanced durability so the user can get more value out of them, and long-range capabilities, so not every fight is up close and personal.
But what type of threat would this make you? With no buffs or boosts, I would say city on the low end and possibly continental on the high, and that's completely depending on the size of the art you are pulling from.
If we use the rule, the art brought to life is as big as the material you pull it from, which means at most you will have access to billboards or murals for truly large art, and it will be hard to outlast the might of a military before you get too far with your conquest.
But next up, we have bone manipulation.
The ability to control, manipulate, and shape bone tissue. This power can be applied to one's own bones, or in some cases, the bones of others.
Breaking this down, you are able to manipulate existing bone, generate new bones, which would also count as healing, and lastly, able to do the same in others. Now, outside of being able to feel the joy of popping your knuckles over and over, how useful is it in today's world?
Primarily, there are a bunch of options in the medical field as a specialist, researcher, or rehabilitator. You would also be able to make a name for yourself in the art scene with the type of bone sculptures you could create. But we recommend you do this with skeletons and not live subjects.
So what powers would be a counter to this? Well, the biggest threat would be negation, because having someone rearrange your bones from the inside is wild work and should be avoided at all costs. But also invulnerability and high durability could avoid death from a bone manipulator but still look mangled because of it. So most other powers can be a threat to a bone user, but the risk is getting within range.
So, what type of threat would you be?
You would be a menace. It would take too long to go around messing with enough people to be considered even a neighborhood menace, let alone a street level one. While the power is good enough to win a fight against a gang, especially if you use bones to form armor and weapons, but it doesn't really scale to anything crazier than that. So with all the pros and cons laid out for each,
Which superpower would you choose?